Hey guys, Drifter here. Today we're going to be unboxing and reviewing the MX Brio 4K webcam from Logitech G. This little webcam boasts a lot of features. It goes up to 4K 30, 1080 60, it's got HDR, and a whole bunch of integrated quality of life features like grain reduction and all that kind of stuff. So we're going to play with this and see how it looks. This would be a good point to let you know that the video is sponsored by Logitech. They're one of the long-term sponsors of this channel. And let's go ahead and jump right into opening this bad girl up, which I have not yet done. Of course, we have the little welcome page, but the webcam itself, nice presentation, very small, no visible USB cable yet. Very heavy. Looks very small, looks light. It's actually very heavy. All right, so you can see the webcam itself. We have the USB 3 plug over here. There's probably a USB 3 cable in the box, which I'm gonna go ahead and try to take out. Come on. The webcam's easy to get out. This thing a little bit less so. Aha, got instructions. Inside of here, perhaps. Yes, one of these chunky, high-quality USB-C cables. This is a USB 3 C connector on both ends. Let's see how long it is. That's kind of an important thing, too. So it's about 3 feet long here. Not the longest cable. That'll work for probably 99% of people's laptops and computers. But what I do like about this is that it's optional. You can use any USB 3C connector you want here and then anything on the other end. I've got a whole bunch of custom cables at home, so those are probably going to be the ones I use for the review. And the part that everybody loves, peeling the little bit of film off the lens, which I think should reveal a hidden feature. Yes, it's got a built-in privacy shutter, which I really think is brilliant. A lot of these type of webcams have caps or something, or you're supposed to unplug them. This one is very little resistance. You don't have to like grab the whole thing. You'll never pull it off your computer. It's just very light little filter you can turn on and off. Kind of like that, just keep it off for privacy reasons. The base of the webcam is deceptively unique. It looks kind of like the standard webcam mount that would clip on top of a monitor with little adjusters on the bottom and stickies. But you can also adjust it this way, probably a better angle to look at it, to point down or up, interestingly. And this is gonna look crazy like I'm destroying it, but it's a magnetic clip. So you can just completely unclip the bottom. And as you'll notice, there is a standard camera mount thread screw here. So if you have any kind of tripod, any kind of mount, anything that just uses the standard screw size, this webcam will obviously screw directly into. Or if you don't want that, you have a pretty sturdy, that is a good click, pretty sturdy magnet base you can just lock this little guy into. Well, that's about all that I can learn about the MX Brio from physically handling the object after taking it out of the box. I think it's time we hook this up to the PC and run it through a series of tests to see what the video quality is like. So right now I'm in Logitech G Hub. You can see that we've got a lot of cameras hooked up here. We're actually about to do a 4-way test between the StreamCam Brio C922 and my DSLR, which is recording for the bottom right-hand corner in a variety of lighting conditions. But first, I wanted to briefly go over the features that Brio offers, at least inside of G Hub. I do like how it has this, like it's sitting on top of your monitor here. And you can see compared to the DSLR, a slightly different angle, but it's still performing really, really well. So in my crop here, we have an interesting feature called show mode, which is to present sketches, objects, etc. on your phone when the camera's facing down. Then we have field of view. We can go anywhere from 90, which is actually kind of an incredibly wide field of view. This field of view is wider than the DSLR that I have set up. So if you want to show a lot of your room, this will definitely work. I think most people are going to settle in on this middle 78 degree field of view option because it kind of keeps the focus on you. And a few goblins out there might just go in for the face on this very, very tight 65 field of view. Unfortunately, it's not a slider. It's just these 3 options. We do have zoom options as well. So I can manually zoom however much, 400%, all right? And we can move it around a little bit. Let's see if I can get my whole... Hello. I shouldn't make weird mouth noises. We can recenter, reset to default. So yeah, 90 field of view, really, really good for a webcam. Interesting uses. I think most people are going to settle on 78. That's what I'm going to use for the testing. When it comes to exposure, we have auto exposure and manual. If I take it off auto, We can independently adjust the shutter speed to do a lot of interesting things that will affect the frame rate. You can see it blurring here a little bit, whereas it wouldn't here. We have these ISO settings as well. We can crank it up and make it stupidly bright or really dark or whatever we want. But honestly, I just get better luck on the auto exposure. We do have low light compensation on and off, which I'm in really good lighting right now. It didn't make that big a difference. So you know what I'll do? I'll go ahead and we'll go back out of here. We'll briefly turn our lights off. So now I've just got really bad like studio lights. And not the biggest difference there. I'm going to turn off the big lights as well. Okay, now we're in pretty bad lighting conditions. Still not seeing the biggest difference. Just a little extra brightness with this option. Not the most impactful, to be honest with you. Let's turn these lights back on. And we do have this very interesting HDR feature, which, as it says, combines multiple exposures to capture a broader range of light, enhancing contrast, dark, and light areas of the image. When I turn it off, we lose a little bit of punchiness in the image. The thing you do gain though is a little bit smoother motion. It's a little bit hard to see. When you turn HDR on, you get a probably seem like a little higher contrast, a little brighter image, looks a little better. It gets very slightly blurrier because of how the camera works. So if you're doing a lot of fast-paced stuff, maybe not. I will say weirdly, and you'll see this later when we do the quad testing, the HDR feature works really well in low light scenarios. Like it makes that look so much better. Image is all pretty standard here. We have auto white balance, brightness, contrast, saturation. I'm super saturated now. Okay. Omega sharp, super bright. We're just ruining the image here. You can make it really cool if you want. You can make it really like a warm image. But again, I just think default natural colors looks best, and it has a standard focus mode, which you can see I've already turned off. So if you've got autofocus on, it'll try to focus on objects. Like here's my old calculator with a Mickey Mouse sticker on it. Yep, so it'll focus on that, and then it'll swap back to my face after a second. But personally, I don't usually use that feature. I usually leave this autofocus off, so it's just always in this default maximum range focus. And those are the features on the Brio. Again, the most interesting ones to me are this 90-degree field of view option, and some of the HDR features are super nice for low lighting, which we're about to jump into when we test this out compared to 3 other cameras. So what you're looking at right now is the raw 1080p output from the MX Brio camera. I have it on 78 field of view, which is the middle option. It gives quite a lot of visible space around me here, and of note, I do have HDR on. It's basically the default setting for the camera, so this is how your camera would look by default. And compared to my DSLR, it's about the same. Of course, I can't put them exactly in the same spot, so the camera angle's a little bit different, but there's not a very big difference in quality between this DSLR video and this MX Brio video. However, if we want to go down to, say, like the stream cam, you can notice a considerable loss of color while we still maintain the resolution and frame rate. We lose some of these nice rich tones that the Brio has thanks to the HDR option. And if we want to go way back in time to the beginning of YouTube, all the way to the Justin TV days, this is the C920 webcam, which definitely lower quality than the others, definitely a little blown out, not doing as good in this lighting, but honestly, for like a 12 to 14-year-old product, holding up really good. And most people that I see streaming are still on the C920. So if you wanted to upgrade to the Brio, it would look something like this. And if this wasn't good enough for you, you could spend, I don't know, $1,500 on a camera and some lenses and a capture card and a second PC, and then upgrade to this. But for at least $1,500 and a whole ton of complicated setup, I don't think there's very much difference between this and the $200 MX Brio, which I honestly, I'm pretty sure I'm going to start recording videos on. And just for posterity, I wanted to do a quad screen test. Tried to get the cameras as close to the same space and angle as possible, but not entirely perfect. You can see differences in frame rate here a little bit, especially on the old C920 in the bottom right. You can see little differences in the color palette, but where this gets really interesting is what I'm going to try to do here live with all of these things going. It's going to make my computer so mad. Is I'm going to start turning lights off, and we're going to see how each one of these cameras responds to increasingly worse light quality. So I'm turning off one of my studio lights. Okay. Turn off the second studio light. And you can see in this scenario, the MX Brio is actually outperforming the others. The DSLR in the top left, which is this way on your screen, is getting a little bit darker. We're losing some clarity. Some of the AI features, we got harsh downlighting too, which is very bad. The other two on the bottom are overcompensating by overexposing, but I'm gonna get up and I'm gonna go turn off the big light. So it's just gonna be pure darkness, like Goblin streamer mode. We're gonna see how it performs there. So this is about the worst lighting scenario that you can have for a camera. We have no lights in the room, and we have these harsh lights behind me for my glowing paintings, which makes it difficult to adjust for. You can see, oh my God, my hair is so fluffy. You can see the DSLR still way too dark. The C920, the old C920 down in, how do I point? In this corner, is actually doing a pretty interesting thing there. You can't see the images on the wall at all, but it's focusing really hard on the face. Stream cam in the bottom left is struggling, but the overall best quality image, like the overall like nicest look that we're getting here, is actually out of the MX Brio in the, I cannot do this, in the top right over this way. We've still got a lot of clarity on my skin, a lot of color. We got a lot of detail on the shirt. None of the other cameras are really capturing that. And what I'm going to do for one more test is I'm going to turn off my glowing posters behind me and see how it deals without that harsh backlighting. All right, so without the harsh backlighting, honestly, most of the cameras are performing better, but I still think the Brio, the MX Brio in the top right, has the overall best quality. Without the harsh backlighting, the DSLR actually did a lot better here. So let's go back to the main. This is DSLR in Goblin mode streaming with just the monitor light in front of me. This is the MX Brio with HDR enabled, getting a lot of like color quality out of this room for how dark it is. C920 probably most accurately reflects how dark the room is, and the stream cam is kind of on life support over here. It's not doing so good. So I'm gonna go back to the quad screen, and I feel like that's a really robust test of how all of these cameras perform in a variety of lighting environments. So now that you've seen it in action, you probably want to know what my opinion on the MX Brio is, which is very simple. I think this is the best Logitech webcam on the market, and easily a top 3, maybe top 5 webcam globally for just general all-purpose performance. It is a massive improvement over the old Brio in terms of stability, functionality in different lighting environments, system resource usage, and just about every single thing, including the easy on-off cap. It's a little bit pricey at $200, but if you use code Drifter, you'll get 5% off, of course. I think that this is best used in 1080-60 mode because that's just typically what I'm recording and producing in. 4K 30 looks really crisp. It looks really clean. I'm just personally not often sold on 30 FPS, though to be honest, most people in most audiences would not notice. It's nice to be able to record in that quality though. And the HDR is very interesting. So HDR on this camera, I love the way it looks in honestly most lighting environments. It makes the image look really crisp. I don't love what it does to the frame rate and the shutter speed and some of the other things that are necessary to make that feature work. So I'm not sure what mode I'm going to leave it on. I'm not sure if I'm going to leave it in HDR for that, I'll say, more interesting contrast and color palette, or if I'm going to leave it in standard 1080-60, just sort of high performance mode. But I do love this little guy. Honestly, I'm probably going to go, I'm probably going to test this out by recording a couple of commentaries, turning off my DSLR, and just see if people notice that I've swapped cameras. A lot of people probably won't. Well guys, that's all for this review and unboxing. I hope that you enjoyed it. I hope that you learned something useful. And if you're interested in the Brio, you can find it linked down there in the description below. Drifter out.